The City Lobby, workspace and hospitality combined in Chicago. Lobbies in Chicago are the heartbeat of the public areas. They show the circulation of people through space. What is a lobby? Langman Dictionary of Contemporary English defines a lobby in building topic, a wide passage or large hall just inside the entrance to a building. Lobbies coming back into their own by Paul Goldberger. In the years following Second World War, architects tended not to pay much attention to the process of getting into and out of office buildings. In a typical building in the 1950s or 1960s, a lobby was not really a place in itself. It was something to be gotten through as quickly as possible. There were a few exceptions, but they tended to be in buildings that were exceptional in other ways too, like the Seagram Building. It is the great American monument of the sleek and cool forms of the international style. The entrance of this building has a tall and column-free lobby and completely open, which creates a good connection between inside and outside. This lobby also is bright and flexible. The Pan Am Building has a prominent and tall lobby to handle the heavy crowds that pour into the building to serve a different architectural experiences. The open lobbies. Central Park is the largest and most important public park in Manhattan. It incorporates a variety of landscapes and experiences. This artificial park consists of different functions. Besides its recreational facilities, it creates great ecological and environmental benefits for the city. The Podesta Trust open-air hall of reception is the heart of the park. This trust was intended to be the main structure and social hub in the park. Visitors would arrive there after strolling north along the elm-shaded walkway of the mall. The mall in Central Park is the only straight line in Central Park's design intended to prepare visitors for the grandeur of the trust. This gradual transition between naturalistic and formal design was important to its designer. Below the truss is the softly lit arcade, a colorful atmospheric space, not fully indoors or outdoors. The arcade was conceived as an open-air reception hall that would provide visitors with shelter from rain and heat. The arrival sequence, which gives a better understanding of the space and creates a sense of anticipation for what lies ahead, as its designer said, nature first and second and third architecture after a while. Hyde Park in London is the largest of 4 royal parks. It was opened to the public in 1637 and quickly became a popular gathering place. This park is like a chain from the entrance of Kensington Palace through Kensington Gardens and Hyde Park and then to Buckingham Palace. The idea of lobby can be seen in the Apsley Gate, through which many visitors pass from Hyde Park Corner to Hyde Park. The archway pass from Wellington Arch to Apsley Gate is a kind of arrival sequence. Persian Gardens. Finn Garden in Caution. The arrangement of spaces at Finn Garden corresponds to its main use as a recreational, reception, and residential space for kings, ministers, and other high-level officials. The entrance porch were built on 2 levels. This building is important due to its presence in the geometric and pure space of the garden on the one hand and its functional role, entrance and reception, on the other hand. There are 2 different zones, public and private, which create various qualities and functions. Dolatabad Garden in Yazd. It is divided into interior and exterior areas. It is a residential governmental garden. The interior of the pavilion is superb, with intricate latticework and exquisite stained glass windows. Shahzada Mahan Garden in Kerman, with a rectangular shape surrounded by a wall. The range of colors in the Persian garden is very limited. The colors of the garden are taken from the environment. The structures and architecture of the garden are the same color as the surrounding environment and are created with vernacular materials. Site location: Goose Island, Illinois, Chicago. This island is in the north branch of the Chicago River on the north side of Chicago. It has a long history of being an industrial corridor. The architecture typology is changing from high-rise buildings to low-rise industrial buildings and warehouses. However, this island is located at the central part of Chicago's loop, but it seems that it is lost and disconnected from the city. At first, the history of Goose Island is reviewed to study its formation over time and to find out what parts of the island are older and more important, because it is a very important factor affecting its future development. The future for Goose Island as proposed by the city until 2050. Some of the buildings in Goose Island have the opportunity to be reused. Balancing the past and future is the contrast that makes repurposing an old structure so unique. From my perspective, there is no collective or interactive space on the island. It is an obvious defect in such an island of good location and great history. Design process. The main ideas: converting Goose Island to a Chicago's lobby. Design an arrival space reception area that has a non-programmed function to create a spatial opportunity for a range of activities rather than being built to serve a specific function besides keeping the industrial function in the island. The arrival space is made up of memorable moments that create a sense of anticipation for what lies ahead, and it consists of various meaningful visual moments, which are considering an important part of the design. A strategy: introducing walls into Goose Island to create new boundaries and bring another wall within that wall to create different enclosures and diversity to the island. Those old industrial buildings become arcades, shelters, and reception. Considering the pedestrian pathway networks as one of the basic layers for new development on the island. Considering different layers such as pathway network, existing grid, and a new grid which is based on an American grid structure. Assimilate or intensify nature by considering gardens and water. In this regard, the American grid structure was used as the base layer. In Chicago, a typical city block is 100 meter to 200 meter, meaning that there are 16 east-west blocks and 8 north-south ones respectively along the width and length of a 1 square mile grid as the typical grid of Chicago. Then the actual grid was simplified and the rectangular grids of city blocks were changed to square ones. The reason is that both shapes represent stability, but there is an equal division in a square. Various layers were overlaid, and an effort was made to preserve the important industrial spaces on the island. First layer is considering the current situation in Goose Island, the existing grid in the island which is parallel with the edge of the island, the three important axes which creates two intersections. The two major intersections of these paths were considered the main points that connect the different places on the island. The 100 square meter grid is considered as the new grid system in this island. Then this was rotated by 30 degrees to the left to be parallel with the edge of the island. In this mode, when different layers are put together, the old industrial buildings structure can be maintained. Bring different layers together to find out the merged plan. Design proposal. The existing buildings on the island that are maintained based on the merged plan. Two important intersections for the location of the two main reception areas or trusses. These trusses are designed to create a collective space that welcomes people to the island. The trusses on two intersections are connected by walking bridge, arched pathways, and stairways connected like a chain all over the island. The paths were designed differently turning a monotonous path into a pleasant space to experience various spaces. In these routes, flexible resting and sitting places were designed. The first imagination of truss idea in this design in order to create a livable non-programmed space with connection to the surrounding environment. The circulation in the space is the fundamental factor for designing this space. The pedestrian bridge and arcade. Design a pedestrian bridge as a connecting route along the island, and it would be one of the main accesses to the island. Considering the arcade path as a bridge structure also makes the space under the bridge livable and active. Having diagonal arcs inspired by the diagonal grid designed on the island, there can be some possibilities like the greenery and rest plaza along the bridge, and it creates a different quality of views for the human. The arced pathways are connected like a chain all over the island, turning a monotonous path into a pleasant space. The arcs are framing the surrounding nature and fountain in the pedestal truss. In the central pavilion of Finn Garden, it has the same quality of space like the pedestal truss, that there are connections between these spaces and the surrounding environment, while providing shelter for people. Different zoning areas highlighted in this master plan and the following pages will present these zoning areas. The users will experience a different quality in these places. They can move from a closed space to an open one without any limitations, enjoy the natural environment, and sit near the water or in the green space. This truss was designed in the central part of the island, which once had been the first residences of the island's people. In this truss, it was tried to add a special variety by creating shelter and a non-programmed function to this area with connection to the adjacent natural environment and water, and also the circulation through a bridge and arced pathways around it. The arcs are framing the surrounding environment as well as providing shelter for people. In the Shahzada Mahan Garden in Kerman, a 300-meter stairway is designed that connects the main entrance to the building at the end of the garden, providing users with various sensory and spatial experiences. The East Truss. This truss was designed at one of the main intersections on the island. It acts as a reception area for the island, which also works as an entrance gate to the east side. The precast concrete panels are considered as the main material for this truss, while the stepped pathways are considered local rocks from the side stacked with concrete and red brick for the arcs. The South Garden. This garden is designed below the ground level without thinking you are at the underground level to create various experiences of being in a reception area and bringing diversity to the island. The in-between corridors are connecting the arcades to different levels of gardens. The South Truss. It is designed by creating an inverse overlaid square-shaped space that is flexible and adaptable to any requirement in the collective space. One is an observation deck and stage, and another a sitting area. These varieties create an environment that encourages visitors to explore and spend time in different spaces within this industrial island. Thank you for your consideration.